let's say we have 3 minutes for a little chit chat if you want to, and if not, I totally understand. The heat kind of takes it out of me, so you can just, yes sir.
I want to revisit something you said earlier, Franz, about, when you have stress and how to deal with it. Like, typically how I've been dealing with it is I'll roll on to the next thing without even realizing I'm not addressing that stressful or anxious event. So are you suggesting, like, instead of just ignoring it, just kind of like embracing it and kind of trying to understand what's going on? Or?
That could be a way of thinking about it. I might say something more like, I don't think there's a lot more to understand aside from this is anxiety. This is my elevated heart rate. This is my pulse. This is how my chest is tightening. Emotions are primarily actually physiological operations. It's usually, if you get a human hooked up to a bunch of diodes with people in white lab coats, the emotion actually happens in the body. And then there's this really big time lag before I figure out that I'm angry because that person in the big truck cut me off with the bumper sticker that I don't like. And I have this whole thing about it. I'm not saying it's not true, but it's always here first. And that's the place of practice, is the point of contact. So if by dealing with it you mean being present to your experience of stress or anxiety or frustration or whatever as it arises immediately at the point of contact, absolutely yes. And I think the danger is often, I'll speak for myself, that I want to do a whole psychoanalytic rundown, and I try to figure out like why, and bro, there's no why. I mean, there's not necessarily a why. There may be a why. It's like, oh, that I'm in a situation that I don't like, and I need to communicate, or I need to stand up for myself, or I need to leave. These are really important things, but always the practice is at that knife's edge, that razor's edge of contact of, ow, what's happening here? And just being spacious to it. So I think that's what more I would like. I think that's how I would gloss what you said.
Sure. No, thank you.
And that's the important thing, because if your life is anything like mine, there's always something, and the practice is always presenting itself, and there's always an opportunity to meet the arising of experience. And just, oh, what's this? Okay. And it doesn't even need a big, important gloss. It could just be whatever is presenting. Is that? Okay, thank you.
I'm reading a book that's called Letting Go, and it talks about that. It talks about how it's like you say, meeting the feeling, allowing yourself to feel the feeling, right? But it's more about being curious about the thought, because it's the thought that lingers, that stays in your mind, that is what continues. It makes the feeling even more intense.
Can you guys hear that?
So if you kind of like, not necessarily challenge, you could challenge the thought, but be curious about the thought, like why the thought is there, where is that thought coming from, then that allows you to be able to feel the feeling and let it go.
That makes a really good point. My teacher, James, is a terrible person who says horrible things like, I was listening to a talk where he was talking about the way that we have, let's say we're sitting, and then we remember something that did happen to us that was painful. That feeling is in real time, right now, happening right now, and is a totally suitable object of our meditation practice. What happens, a billionth of a second later, is the mind goes into a vibration, and what I do is I do catastrophization. So I do, this is terrible, it's going to be like this forever, and it's going to get worse, and what am I going to do? And I do this whole flip out, and now I'm caught in this resistance, like dog fight, between the emotion, the physiological thing arising that's totally legit, and my own little freak out around it. So this is why when I catch a cold, I'm like laying on the couch moaning. I'm like, this is how I go, and my wife's like, you're fine, get up, go to work. This is, so just knowing that about yourself. Something arises, it's like a blip, it's like a spike, it's like a leaf falling. It's a real thing, it happened, it's an object of experience. But that instant later, that weird magnetizing, polarizing thing that we do, that I do, that's where the real pain happens. That's where I'm caught in this thing, and I try to fix it because I'm a big smart meditator, and I'm going to calm myself down instead of just being like, ow, and just being present to it in a real way. Thank you. That's really bitching. Yes.
Something sort of building on that, which is, I think it was Joseph Goldstein that talks about this, that, and I think the phrasing helps a lot for me. It's like trying to step back from the feeling a little bit by saying, this is what anxiety feels like, this is what anger feels like, and then recognizing that, very similar to your point, right? Recognizing maybe the physiological representation of that in yourself. And that way you're not getting caught up in that vibration that's there. You're saying, oh, this is what that is. And it's sort of separate, so you're not getting absorbed by that thought in a way.
Yeah, you're not fusing cognitively to it. Everybody heard that. It's an object in your awareness. It's primarily neutral, or maybe a little bit pleasant if you're like me and you like those sounds. So it doesn't cause a lot of flim-flam. It doesn't make a lot of mischief with you. It's not sticky. If you were trying to sleep and I'm in your house for some reason going, that's a fucking problem. And it's going to have a lot. What do you do? What? I'm calling the cops. I'm trying to sleep. Do you know what I mean? It's almost never the thing. And so it's really helpful. Remember, the word, the phrase, the title of the Buddha is not the man's name. Gautama the homeless, Gautama the wanderer. That's the man's name, Gautama. But the Buddha just means the one who is awake. That's you. You are the one who knows. That's it. Full stop. You are that ungraspable awareness that is luminous, vast, and infinitely hospitable. When we get caught and we grab onto something and chew on it because it's terrifying or infuriating or whatever it is, all of a sudden I went from being the Buddha to being Franz, the really angry guy who's trying to get home after a hard day of work, and he wishes people would move up the road a little bit, buddy. Do you know what I mean? I went from being this impossibly vast patterning of cosmic energy to being this jerk in a broken down old XB in Long Beach, which is there too, but I'm not having a good time now. So thank you, Franz. That's great. Yeah, just notice, catch yourself. Oh, am I being a 1,000-armed bodhisattva of infinite possibility, or am I furious at the guy ahead of me in line? Last one.
Just really quickly, that was what you just said was kind of key for me, and of course it's always a practice. But it's that catching myself in the moment, and just the curiosity after. Oh, that got me that time. And then that de-escalates everything. But I find it so many opportunities to practice where you think oh yeah, I'm getting this, and then oh gosh, here I am again. But then it just goes back to that curious, and it just takes all the energy out.
What a great way to put it. Curious. Curiosity. Oh, what's this? Oh my. It's better to have the curiosity before your fist is through the air. Okay, it's time, but I can't help it. My wife was playing Monopoly with her cousin when she was 9 or 10, and her cousin just did some kind of power move and totally just, that was it, game over. And my darling angel wife, who is just the greatest blessing and just wouldn't hurt a fly, remembers distinctly her own fist flying past her own face into her cousin's nose. And she was like, what is that? Oh my God, that's my hand. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Boosh. So yeah, no, don't tell her I told you the story. But that's the thing, that's what happens. If we can stay curious and stay open and stay big, stay the awareness. And even when we're doing that, we are still the awareness. Oh, I'm doing that thing. Maybe I have a chance. And sometimes you don't. And then just get curious about it afterward. What was that? I'm not playing Monopoly anymore. Okay.